Hi, I'm Laura.
Hey, I'm Stefan, and you're listening to Attributed, a podcast library by Dreamdata.
The purpose of it is to store and share all the knowledge that we have gathered across Dreamdata employees through our LinkedIn Lives, podcasts, and webinars.
The typical topics you'll find here can be stuff like marketing,
Sales,
B2B ads,
operations,
social selling maybe. Hello everyone, and we're going to talk about account-based marketing, and it's a topic I'm very interested in, but have never really pursued this tactic 100%. So I'm hoping to learn a lot from you, Alex, today. But yeah, how would you go about, first of all, introducing yourself and perhaps Reachdesk, which you are now a co-founder of?
Yeah, man. Well, look, Stefan, firstly, I'm not disappointed it's you. I'm happy you or Laura, that's fine.
Oh, that's good.
It's nice to see you, man. Yeah, so look, my name's Alex Olley. I'm the CRO and co-founder of a company called Reachdesk. As you can tell, I'm British. I count myself as a Londoner. I didn't grow up in London, but I count myself as someone from London now. And for those that don't know, so Reachdesk, we're actually a US headquartered company. So we moved it straight to the US within a year of founding it, nearly 6 years ago. What we do is we help B2B companies to build deeper connections with the power of direct mail and gifting.
Pretty cool. So how far is Reachdesk in its journey now? How big is the company? Which type of customers do you serve and so forth?
Yeah, man. So we started it in 2018. Did the classic thing of trying to do it alongside your jobs. You might have done the same, Stefan. I'm not sure. Yeah. I actually don't know how you did Dreamdata at the beginning, but yeah, we started back in 2018. So this is our 6th year now. And it's been a crazy ride. I don't know if you want to go into that a little bit, but I was really testing account-based marketing kind of as a byproduct of being really disappointed with the way things were in the organization I was in.
Yeah.
And I remember learning about this concept of ABM probably 9 years ago. It wasn't even new, by the way. For those listening, ABM is about 20 years old. It is not new. It's it used to be
100 years old even.
Probably. Maybe, but I think ITSMA coined it about 20 years ago. So happy birthday, ABM, 20 years old, well done. But it used to be this thing that was reserved for massive companies with huge organizations, huge teams, big budgets that would sell to one or two sort of one-to-one accounts. Now it's evolved into this new thing today, which is exciting. And when I discovered it, we were using direct mail and gifting. It's the centerpiece. And actually a lot of people come to Reachdesk and prospects and customers, and they're like, hey, we want to do ABM. And they think we are ABM. We're there's a whole list of things you got to do right to get account-based marketing right. But we started in 2018, 2019, it started to get product market fit. 2020, COVID. So we're called Reachdesk because we used to send people things directly to people's offices.
Yeah.
Guess what? Offices suddenly closed. We're oh God, what do we do? Anyway, we adapted there using address verification, address confirmation, digital gifting, events, products, virtual events offerings. And then we went colossal.
Oh, wow.
And then I think that helped us, but we navigated it quite well. As of today, we're about 200 people. We mainly sell to we only sell to B2B companies.
Yeah.
Only sell to B2B companies, mainly in Europe and the US. The US is our biggest market. It's 75% of our revenue is from there. We predominantly sold into tech companies because they had a lot of budget. They were really mature with tools they were using 6 Sense. They were using the adoption. We complement solutions like that. But now we're going into different verticals like manufacturing, logistics, that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Nice. I think that maybe now is a good time for if you could do maybe your definition of what account-based marketing is. And a follow-up to that is also kind of who's it for and who's it not for, because I think that
a
little bit unclear. Cool. But if we just start with our two definition of what account-based marketing actually means.
I get asked this a lot, and I think I disappoint people. So if I disappoint you, then I'm sorry. Yeah. I think, honestly, account-based marketing for me is just really good B2B for go-to-market companies who are selling into mid-market enterprise sectors. That's it. I don't really see it as much more. It's it's good go-to-market with alignment of teams, and you basically won't be selling into the SMB segment, more mid to enterprise. And there are so many different variations, and I'll talk to you a little bit more perhaps later about the way I see it for our business, but it doesn't need to be overly complicated. I'll tell you who I think it's for and not for. I think that's one of the things you asked me. My rule of thumb has been for companies that have an average deal size of less than 10K, you probably don't want to invest in this. You might want to be looking at more of an inbound motion or something like that. But It is for companies that have an ACV of probably 10K and above, because you've got like one to few, one to one, one to many. So 10K and above is still big enough to justify the motion. It might be like advanced demand gen, but it's for companies that want to focus their efforts in specific areas to drive revenue as a team. That's who it's for ultimately. But the truth is, I was reading, I can't remember who produced it at the end of last year, but there was some stat like about 40% of ABMers, they do not see ROI from ABM, right? They just don't. So they spend loads of time and money on something that's just not going to work. And they've made like big promises to their board and CEO and the wider team. It doesn't work, falls flat in its face. And it's painful. And I see this time and time again. I speak to people about this all the time. I say things consistently about this. ABM it's not for people that want to see fast results, right? This is something that takes time. Like the board probably comes in. I've been in companies where either comes I'm advising, or once I've been part of it, the CEO comes in and goes, hey, I just spoke to another company, they're doing ABM, so we've got to get started. And then bang, it falls flat in its face. And so it can be a tricky one. And the thing I see a lot is that you get like demand gen teams or just traditional marketing teams who focus on like MQLs. And they're getting a pat on the back because they're hitting their numbers that you generate loads of MQLs. But then you're in an organization which doesn't understand how to measure it. ABM is probably getting let go because they can't deliver results overnight. So it's not for people that want fast results. It's not for people that want to measure leads. There's a big difference between an account and a lead, as I'm sure you know. It's not for people that think they can just do this really well with their existing team as it is. I think so many companies that try to do account-based marketing, and yes, it's been around for 20 years or so, but I think there's a big talent gap. There aren't enough account-based marketers to be able to supply the demand of all the companies that want to do ABM and do it well. And so what happens is they try and find these people that have enough experience. Next thing you know it, they just go, we'll give it to the junior person or the digital marketer and they'll figure it out, and they can just do targeted ads, specific accounts, and we're doing ABM, tick the box, and again, it fails. Those are the things I see commonly, and that's not who it's for.
Yeah, I already have a ton more follow-up questions. If we try to break it down a little bit, why do you need a, let's say, large deal size or a deal size of more than, I know a little bit about why, but if just for the people that are not that familiar with the topic, why is a large deal size more relevant for ABM than if you do like 1 to millions of people or accounts?
I just don't think you're doing account-based marketing. If you're just focusing on like SEO or driving organic traffic, for example, that's not account-based marketing because you can't control it, right? And so I think if you're doing that, it's just not an account-based motion. That's what I'd argue. To do account-based marketing effectively, it's focus, it's specific orchestration. If you've got a deal size like 2K, you probably don't want to get 10,000 accounts and then try and focus like lots of different segments on all those accounts, because it's going to be really tricky. I'm not saying B2B marketers shouldn't be shouldn't be doing certain things if their ACV is below a certain size. I just wouldn't describe it as account-based marketing, because the specific focus around accounts and emotion is very different.
A lot of people are also using this tactic to go after really large accounts, but really large accounts also take a lot of time, and your sales team is going to be investing 6 or 12 months in getting the deal across the line. So if it's only £1,000 that is waiting across the line, then you probably run out of money at some point. So the reward of doing a really focused approach also needs to be there in the shape of the contract value being of a good size.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's about ROI, not just in terms of like revenue on the board, but like where do you spend your time? And the higher the deal size, the more easily you can justify it. If you're going after $1 million accounts, account-based marketing at that level is really like one-to-one. It's really focused, and you want teams on those accounts. When it gets below like 10K, it's like you can't concentrate your efforts, and people will buy more transactionally too, so they don't expect that level of treatment.
And then, so the one thing is that we need a larger account size for it to make sense. But you also said then a lot of companies fail at account-based marketing. You mentioned that you just put a like junior person on it and put that person in a corner as one of the things. But what are the other typical pitfalls you see when account-based marketing doesn't work out?
As I said, I'll reiterate what I said before. The number one thing is people don't give enough time. Do not underestimate this. Like this takes time. There's so many learnings that what works for your competitor or the previous business you worked at, it might not work for you. And it takes a lot of learnings, and you've got to set expectations there. I think one of the mistakes I made a long, long time ago, I didn't educate people on it. One of the people I think is critical to understand this is the CEO, because they're going to be asking in a board meeting, they have to know their stuff, right? And if the board's like, well, what pipeline is marketing generating? And usually there's a term of like, how many MQLs they're generating. You need to educate the CEO to be able to have a conversation, but I think you need their buy-in too, because you need to be able to say, this might take a year before we even start to see anything significant. That depends on your deal cycle and your deal sizes. I spent 9 months trying to get this through the first organization I tried this.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it wasn't until I sat down with the CEO, I was like, okay, we've got to stop talking about leads. We'll start talking about accounts. And I need marketing to focus their efforts here. And he was like, oh, I get it now. That makes total sense. And so we could unlock more budget. There was more patience. There wasn't someone knocking my door every week trying to figure out why are we not getting qualified pipeline or revenue within the space of a month, because we were still like building the foundations. I think the biggest pitfall is that people do not see this as a team sport. The M in ABM is the most misleading part, I think, the marketing bit. I believe there's still a big misconception that this is for marketing to drive forward and that sales kind of hop on board somehow. So, we're going to do ABM, and then why do sales not care about this? Which is why I prefer the term Allbound a little bit more. And I think ABM and Allbound, they kind of complement each other. It's a team sport regardless of however you label it. You can't, I don't think you can do effective account-based marketing if it's just the marketing team. And I cannot tell you, remember, I speak to B2B marketers every week, every day. The number of people that come to me, they say, we're doing ABM. And I say, hey, tell me about your ABM strategy. I still think half of them are just serving ads to selected accounts, and they're trying to get them into the pipeline. And that's all they do.
I was like doing like a project plan for some ABM this year as well. And you can maybe start punching the holes in where I'm doing it wrong. But we had this kind of feeling that we needed to, together with the sales team, we needed to select the accounts, and the accounts needed to be of a certain deal size. And once we've selected these accounts, we needed to run a warm-up period where we'd start serving ads to the accounts. And not before the warm-up period had been concluded would we have the salespeople join to start doing the direct outreach on LinkedIn, trying to send DMs and trying to get some kind of reaction to them. We were also thinking about, for the account that we have selected, maybe we select accounts in a certain industry or country or job role so that we could also construct events tailored to those that we selected. So let's say it's only performance marketers we selected within these companies, then we could run performance marketers breakfasts along with that play or stuff like that. But we had this idea kind of that select the accounts together, and then marketing starts a warm-up period. Sales then has the responsibility to actually break through the ice after the accounts start to get warm. But that was kind of all the sophistication we've gotten to so far. Then we also we played a little bit around with what if we rented a van where we could kind of write on that van the name of the account that we wanted to reach, and then park the van outside their office and then say, hey, we're outside, come get a meeting or stuff like that. But that was kind of the rough framework for how we did it. What are the things that we should be thinking more about?
Oh, look, this totally depends on your level of maturity. Here's the problem. If you sit down with sales and you say, hey guys, we're going to select accounts together, because account selection and identifying accounts is probably, it's more than just the platform. It's kind of everything, really. If you get your account selection right, you're far more likely to win. But when you sit down with sales, you say, hey sales, we sell to B2B companies. If I sat down our sales team, said, let's choose some accounts together. Guess what the first thing they're going to do is, I want to sell to Google. I want to sell to Slack. I want to sell to all these guys. You want to sell to these logos. And the best thing that marketing teams can do, and this is just fundamental stuff, marketing need to justify the characteristics of the accounts that you're going to select together in advance and articulate why. Right? And the thing that I see most companies don't bother doing is they don't look in their CRM and say, all right, which accounts close the fastest? Which ones have the best close rates? Which ones have the best renewal and NDR? Those kind of characteristics. What are the firmographics, the technographics that sit on top of those? All right, sales team, these are all the trends that we see in terms of what a good account looks like. So now we're going to start to select accounts together to make sure that we get this right, because Mark my words, again, I speak to people all the time and they say, yeah, we sat down with sales and then we came up with all the biggest logos. It doesn't matter. Like if you can't close Google, it's not going to be a good customer for you. Don't try. Go after someone else who matches the best customers based on the fit you would know, and then use that criteria and then validate that. And that's how you get account selection. If you don't have any other system, that would be the best where I would start. That's my advice to everyone.
That makes sense.
The way I see it now, again, that's like just about the real basics. There are loads of different things. Like technographics are like, what technologies do you complement? So you guys at Dreamdata obviously integrate with lots of different technologies. You'll probably know the main ones. What the firmographics, so geolocations, company sizes, sometimes down to like persona level. Wrap that all around, then you have your ideal customer profile. Then you start to select accounts off the back of that. The way I think about it now, the best in class, I think now, is dynamic territories. This is what we use. So using layers such as intent data to model that on top of that ICP to select, rather than have a list of like 100 accounts that we're going to go after this year, what's the list of 20 accounts that that rep is going to have in that given time, and how quickly does that refresh? And we refresh it every week, actually. And so it's all about trying to go after those that are in market at that given time, because they're showing intent for you. And that's your ICP. You've modeled it that way, and that's where you win. And so that's what I think most people are trying to reach now.
How many selected accounts can one rep handle at a time? I know it depends, but do you have any rules?
It depends on your segment. It depends on your segment. I like it. Let's talk about BDRs, for example. So for us, a BDR can handle between 35 to 50 accounts max at a time, like no more. We don't give them like big account lists and try and get them to board the ocean. We say, these are your small number of accounts, right? And we're going to say, these are the intent data signals that we've shown, that's where your focus should be.
Is that for a quarter they have it, or is it for the full year, or how much, like how long do they have?
That's the whole point. Again, I see this mistake being made. It doesn't need to have a time frame on it. It's constant refreshing, right? One says, I work with a competitor, swap it out. Another one comes in. You don't look, otherwise you have this exhausted list and you have to refresh. Now, I don't think we've 100% nailed it, but that's nearly where we're at now. Like that's like 80% of where our reps focus. Slightly smaller amount for account executives. But they're working with marketing, and marketing is doing the warm up, as you say, try and get these accounts in the right stages, because a list-based approach is where people start to board the ocean. And that's why we get inefficient and we waste a lot of time. Yeah.
This talk is the kind of termed how to get ABM working through the whole organization. So we've touched upon some of the things, which is, getting the CEO on board, because it's his or her face that is going to face the board saying we're spending this money. And then there's the time component perspective. I would love you to say a little bit more about the time component perspective as well before we move into more of the things you need to do. Why is it that it takes so long time? And what can you do kind of to, I guess, reach this? Because one of these ways where you can accelerate the time a little bit.
Yeah, look, we were born account-based, so we didn't really ever have to struggle with this. But the reality for most organizations is they've already got if you're talking about account-based marketing, you're probably not a 5-person company that's trying to figure stuff out. You're probably a little bit more mature and you've been doing things a certain way. Now that's just reality. Reality strikes. And to then have something else slot in alongside it, that takes time. And so you have to start to build processes and perhaps invest in systems and different methods and getting people on board. And that sounds exhausting, doesn't it? So it takes time just to do that.
Yeah, but then the other thing works, so why don't we just stick with what works?
Well, exactly. But you might be thinking of changing because it's not efficient. You might be wasting a load of money on just spray and pray tactics that you hope people will come and buy from you, but they might be the wrong people. And so it's very efficient. It gives you the utmost focus. I love it when people say to me, hey, I didn't know about you guys until you reached out to us. That's great. That shows we're not spending loads of wasted money on brand. But it takes time to change the org. It takes time to build the infrastructure. But then think about it. You've got to then say, well, we're refining our target accounts. And to your point about warming it up, you have to warm them up, right? You should be aiming to get them to a point where they're demonstrating a certain level of behavior before it even starts to get into someone's hands. Then you've got to work the sales cycle. It just doesn't happen overnight. You can spend a bit more on SEA, for example, and drive more inbounds, and you can turn that on and turn it up, but you might get a lot more wastage. It might not be an effective way of spending your money. You can see instant results, but it might not be good for the business. And so you have to separate the two.
I'm super curious also to hear kind of how to utilize now it's Reachdesk, but there's, similar companies that and you can even do it yourself, send a lot of gifts, etc. But maybe could you give a couple of like tangible examples of how now are you guys gifting specifically? I'm not sure, Alex, or is it more things you can do?
Yeah, we started with like the concept of digital gifting. That's when it actually started. It was like I could send you like a Starbucks voucher or something like that. Then we realized that we needed to build like warehousing because account-based marketers wanted to pick and pack things and like do custom boxes. So we have warehouses all over the world, US, Canada, the UK, Europe, Australia, APAC, so we can service it globally. And then we built this global marketplace, which is essentially like personalized gifts that you can send. So we have people, I believe you're in Copenhagen, is that right?
Yeah.
But we have suppliers in Denmark that just serve Denmark. We have UK. These are local suppliers that send highly personalized gifts within the region because it's better for the planet, but also it's what local people want to enjoy. And then we built a virtual events platform. So if you want to do like virtual wine tastings or something like that for your team or your prospects, and we built an events product. So one of the things that we heard from our customers, they're like, hey, look, I've got all this stuff. We do like 50 trade shows a year. We hate carrying all this stuff in our suitcase or sending swag from the office, or we've got this cupboard in the office, it's just full of swag and people go there and grab stuff for an event, they take it with them. So we built a product where you can literally just store everything and you can say, I want 100 t-shirts, ship it to the event and then ship it back. And then we built specific events products to drive engagement. So it's a whole suite of things now.
Oh, wow. Very nice. I didn't realize that was so broad, the offering nowadays. Must be a lot of hassle with the physical storage of things as well.
Well, as I said, for people that are doing it themselves, this is kind of what we heard at the beginning. This is a nightmare. I'd literally I'd go and visit people in their offices and I'd start talking about the concepts. I remember one time, a guy called Andy Culligan, he was the VP of Marketing at Exponia. He said, I'm going to show you something. We walked into this room and it was basically like a closet and it was just full of like stuff. And I was like, what is this? He's like, this is where we store stuff and it's just chaos. And we don't know what's in here. Like half of it is like our old brand, the other half. And then when people started working from home, this stuff all got sent to this poor marketer's bedroom. So, in her bedroom, covered by like stuff. And she's like, how do I get this stuff to people? Now people work in a hybrid world. So we take all that away and we go, all right, you want to send stuff to people? We're going to store it for you. It's all inventoried. And you just send someone a link, say, I'd like to send you something, enter your address, and you can track it all.
So Ella is saying, as we talked about, why is large deal size relevant? It's costly, it takes time, etc. Anything else to add to that?
I think we touched on this earlier. I don't think that, to me, 10K isn't a massive deal size. It's just the threshold that I see where people start to see a high return on investment. People doing account-based marketing might want to employ like a one-to-many strategy where you're serving to like maybe 200 accounts or so. That does work. If this is a new industry we want to break into, we know that industry is something we want to go after. The showing intent, that's like a one-to-many approach. You might want to do the one-to-one, which is like $1 million accounts, maybe $500,000 to $1 million, and do like 2 or 3 of those accounts and have a really focused method there. Yeah. So the one-to-one approach is for that higher end. One-to-few is probably 20 to 25. Then one-to-many is probably about 200.
Really cool. So Jessica Armstrong, what's an ideal team distribution to execute ABM?
Yeah, I love this. I don't think there's an ideal team. I think, again, it depends on the maturity of your program and the size of your organization. I do believe you can do account-based marketing effectively with a fairly small team. In fact, I've proven it. But you can't expect them to do what they were doing before if they're a digital marketer and that's it. And like completely destroy their focus. The main people you need, obviously you need dedicated marketers. You need salespeople. You need to get the salespeople as part of it. It's essential. If you've got RevOps, those are the people that are going to fuse it all together and build it into the workflow. That can be your team, by the way. It can just be sales and marketing. It doesn't have to be massive. It's all about them focusing on what they need to focus on. Yeah,
I really agree. Also, like if you add this on top of the task that they have today, they will stop doing what they do today because it actually is stuff that takes time and you need to do it well. And you need to be aware that you might need to add a new team member to be able to handle this extra workload. So here we go. Pablo is asking, how does ABM actually start? As in, once you have your list of accounts, how should I approach the first steps when it comes to aka marketing?
Yeah, I mentioned this before, but let's go back. And again, it doesn't need to be like, this is the way you do it. This is what I have seen worked myself. You need to spend a ton of time on account selection. I mentioned those things that you can do earlier. Look into your existing customer base. That is the first place you start, in my opinion. That's what I've seen work. What worked for me. Yeah. What are the types of industries, sizes of companies, deal sizes? What are the trends that you see that are telling you these are your best fit customers? Best fit is kind of the underlying message here. Who are your best fit customers? You have your dream customers who you want to win. They might not be your best fit customers because they're not going to renew. They're not going to grow. Start there. Then you can you can cross-reference that data against your current prospect pipeline, so your new business pipeline. And if you can layer in certain tools that give you intent data, you're going to have a lot of information on the account selection, right? Then you need to make sure those accounts are effectively selected together. I wouldn't aim for like these static lists and say, these are our accounts for the year. I don't think that's helpful because they should refresh regularly. Assemble your team. All right. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Jessica maybe before was asking about who the right team is. Depending on the size of your organization, assemble the team, but make the point and look them in the eyes and go, you are part of our ABM team. You are in the ABM squad. Okay. This is your job. This is really important. You've been selected because you're awesome. These are your roles. Okay. And then draw out like a timeline of like, this is what's going to happen. Marketing's going to be doing this. All right. When it reaches this stage, you jump in. Here's what you're going to be doing. Here's where you're going to be sending out the right messaging. And we'll come to this in a second. The right messaging. These are the channels we're going to use. Make this distinction too. Marketing at no point is going to be stepping away from what we're doing. And what I mean by that is marketing shouldn't just because an opportunity has been created, then go, done my job done. Like they are through until the very end, until you close that deal. I'd argue they're there until you renew. Marketing's not allowed to step away and have that consensus. Sales will probably look at you and go, what? That doesn't make any sense. That isn't your job to like acquire pipeline. Then you need to start to think about the channels and the tactics you're going to use. Why are we going after these accounts? Okay, well, these are 50 customers that we lost a deal to 6 months ago. All right, and we think because of this, we have a really high chance. So this is a competitor takedown strategy. Here's the messaging we're going to use. We're going to use these channels. We're going to use direct mail and gifting. We're going to use email, video. We're going to have this specific content that we're going to send to these guys. And so you think about the channels, the tactics, and the content that you're going to use. And then you start the orchestration. The execution piece is everything. You execute against this, and you have to measure the right numbers. What's the progression of accounts? I think about volume and velocity. Okay, how many accounts are we targeting? What's the conversion to the next stage? So you might go from like target to awareness to consideration, decision, purchase. Those are the steps I use. How long is it taking that cohort of accounts to move from that stage? So how many? You've got 1,000, 20% are converting. How long is it taking? Okay, we can measure the progression of accounts throughout the buyer journey, and you're now measuring the right thing. But then ultimately, what's the revenue? And you can look at average deal size, close rate, and velocity from target to close. And then what you've got is essentially a whole program which says our ACV has jumped up by 20%. It's closing at half the rate, and our close rate is 50% higher. We are winning.
I love how you can really sense that this is a craft that you really know well, Alex.
I think I've been doing it long enough now, with a lot of help from some very good people.
So related to this, Gabriel is asking, do you have blogs, podcasts, etc., related to this somewhere that people can go read up on or listen to afterwards?
I think I need to do a better job of this. We did commit last year to doing a thing called Reachdesk Unwrapped, which is sharing how we do things as an organization. We're probably going to push the button harder on that this year. But follow Reachdesk Unwrapped. We share most of the things that we do there.
Super nice. Yeah. Sounds like you have collected a lot of knowledge that's very valuable for a lot of people. Niall is saying, how did you educate? What did you use for your approach with the CEO/board on moving from MQLs to an ABM approach? That's a classic question as well.
Yeah. At the beginning, I wasn't being listened to, so I just went and did it. That's the truth. I just kind of went, right, guys, we're going to go and do this. And they're like, does anyone know about this? It's like, we're just going to do it. And I actually just showed them. Here are the 30 or 40 accounts that we just went after. These are the different metrics, and here's the movement between the two. And it kind of turned heads. I don't want to advise people to do that because the risk of losing their job. Maybe it was because I was just getting so frustrated. But there's enough information out there nowadays. Like what I do hear is a lot of people go, I heard Alex on a podcast and we've got to go and do ABM because it's going to be awesome. And that usually comes down from the CEO or the board, and then it's not thought through. But it's not hard to justify why you should be doing this because of those things. Your deals will close faster. Yeah. a higher deal size, better close rate. And that's what you're aiming for. And you're basically saying to your board, this is a more efficient way of us spending less and getting things aligned.
Yeah.
And that narrative is old enough now for people to buy into it.
Yeah, and I think it's that classic discussion about we don't care about the amount of email addresses we can collect on the website.
Yeah.
We care that the email addresses or the people we speak with are exactly the people we actually want to sell to. But maybe a way to start can also be just say, I need an experimental budget. I'm just going to go for 10 accounts, 100K or whatever, and that's it. And then I'll come back with a calculation of whether that made sense or not to do this.
I mean, you can try that. I just think, again, how do you get budget for something that's going to take a long time? That you're kind of promising may or may not work. I think if you can get people on side and go hard at it, I'm very lucky. I've got a really good team of people that do this day in, day out.
Yeah.
And our whole motion, we actually don't talk about ABM anymore. We talk about Allbound, right? It's just a motion where marketing and sales are like just pushing forward together at all times.
Maybe, just before we grab another question, maybe just to unfold that kind of what do you perceive as kind of that Allbound motion for you guys?
Sure. I think honestly, I've been speaking a lot about account-based marketing. I felt like it was a bit lost for a while, if I'm honest with you. It was like, I had to always find it a place. And I realized because the fundamentals of the go-to-market motion that we were employing, it was quite divided. It was really like before we tried this, it was like inbound versus outbound, and partnerships was over here, and different teams were measured in different ways. And what I see with account-based marketing is you can kind of sort of do it on its own on the side. But I decided to revamp our entire go-to-market motion so that it was thinking the same way. And the focus was really on revenue first and foremost. That's the first thing I had to change. So I was like, guys, your comp plans have all changed. You now, even the marketing team was like, the predominant factor that I'm going to measure you on is how much revenue do we generate? How much revenue do we actually close? And by the way, you share the same number as the sales team. And that was just like for all motions that we use. So it was like revenue focused for everyone. And that's the difference, I think, between Allbound and ABM, is because some marketers might just have like a pipeline number, for example, whereas ABMers might have something different. I was like, entire go-to-market needs to focus on revenue, even partnerships, right? So we make comp plans based on that. That thing alone and that mindset of like, we're a team, everyone, literally like partnerships is like a really good example of this. I thought partnerships was just there to like have a party and kind of go and socialize with people. And I realized that partnerships can be over here, like in the trenches with marketing, with sales, like generating referrals, but really importantly, like when a deal comes into the pipeline, to be able to spot that and say, we have a partner that can help close this deal, right? We're going to bring in the partner and then we're going to do this together. And that's like that Allbound mindset, because partnerships can help us close revenue. And we were doing things like, when we implemented 6 Sense, the whole mindset was like, how do we get first to the party, right? And to get to that account before they submit a demo request. Now, historically, marketing would have said, well, hang on a second, demo requests, kind of qualified pipeline, that would have been my key measurement of success, generated ops through demo requests. We're saying, well, actually, no, we don't want that to happen. We want to get there first. Now, without that Allbound mindset, a marketer would be like, I kind of don't want to do that. Why would I want to wait for the form to be filled so that I can tick the box? And now our marketing team are going, well, actually, we want to get there before that even happens via, and I think of sales reps and SDRs as, we call them BDRs, is our demand capture mechanism, not a form, a person, because they're getting there first to the party, and that's where we see ourselves winning. So this whole mindset around revenue and being a team sport and doing whatever it takes, not whatever it takes, but whatever we can effectively to generate revenue, has allowed us to change the different dynamics of what we do as a team to be able to optimize for that.
That's interesting for a marketer to hear that it's to think about the BDR as the demand capture rather than the website's demo form or whatever. But why is it that you want the BDR to come? Is that because you want to get in earlier in the decision-making process? I get it that the account needs to reach a certain warm-up stage, then the BDR goes for it. But why this distinction between just sitting back and waiting for them to be warm enough to book a demo versus the BDR being there first?
Yeah, 85% of deals that are won is when they spoke, the supplier that won the deal was the first supplier they spoke to. That's a crazy stat, and that's been validated by a lot of people. And you've probably seen this, right? you get into an RFP late or something, you're just cannon fodder. You're part of the tick box exercise to go, yeah, we evaluated 4 providers. They're always going to go with that provider in the first place.
That's a very interesting thought, Alex.
But it allows you to control the process more. It does. Yeah. You can start to understand what the criteria are and influence it. Again, I'm thinking as a CRO who has salespeople and marketers underneath me, right? And that's part of it. It's like control the process as best you can. Intent data is really valuable, and you know this because it's part of your product. Yeah. It's so valuable because sometimes you don't know about a provider, but when they show up when you're looking, if you waited for the demo request to happen and they go with a competitor of yours and they've done all their research there, you're not in the mix. It's too late for you. So what's the point? Now the old school marketing mentality is, well, I've done my job, right? They submitted demo requests. They were looking into suppliers. I've done my job. That's the old school mentality, right? And I don't like that. I prefer the mentality of like, how am I helping sales win? And I believe getting there as early as possible based on the data that you're being shown is the best way of winning. Now, the reality is that doesn't happen every time. I'm a realist. I'm not a fantasist. But the more you can endeavor to do that, an all-bound mindset you're approaching, which you're not trying to tick the box, you're trying to close revenue.
That's a super interesting thought. Teresa is asking, how do you keep accounts warm while they're not ready to buy? And does sales play a role here?
To keep accounts warm where they're not ready to buy. Again, I break it down into 5 stages before deal is closed. So we have target, awareness, consideration, decision, purchase. Accounts can move back and forth. They can move fast through that cycle. They can go backwards. This is where it's a very good question. And I've met Teresa and she's a very smart person, so I know what she's asking. There are different methods, and we actually have like a segmented approach to like, was it already an opportunity and maybe it was bad timing for them then, or we lost it to a competitor? We don't win 100% of deals, obviously. I wish we did.
Funding gets postponed or whatever it is. Many things can happen.
Yeah, exactly. So much can happen, but we have like a defined, and I think we haven't like nailed this. I'm not pretending we've nailed everything. I sometimes come across like, yeah, we have it all nailed down. No one does. Let's just be real. But we do have certain plays where I'm going to go backwards. If a deal is closed lost, we do have classic nurture strategies. I tend not to use email so much. I feel like that's not as handy. We write content like Reachdesk Unwrapped, and we have our own strategies to keep people warm by not keeping them informed about us and our product. More just like, how can we value drop people? There are lots of progressive things you can do.
That was a nice one as well.
There are lots of things you can do like earlier on before people haven't spoken to a salesperson, let's say, for example. But that tends to be more digital, events driven. We're starting to use more smaller, like intimate things. Don't expect me to invite you to like a standard like city dinner, because like everyone's doing them. It's like, who isn't doing a dinner right now in a hotel or a fancy restaurant in London, New York, or San Francisco?
Run in the morning.
But that's genius from you guys. I went on one of those. Well, maybe it's time to speak about that, Stefan. But that's a really good way of like keeping people in the loop of what you're doing and nurturing. Think outside the box.
I don't really think about a funnel that much anymore. The only thing you really can control in a company is that you constantly have a high quality output of value of content, that you constantly send out great newsletters, constantly do good podcasts, constantly do good events. Like, then people can step in and out of those things. But the only thing you can control is what you do from your end, and then whether the budgets and projects fall into the row at the account. That's not something that you're necessarily in control of.
That's a way better answer than mine.
No problem. So Prem is asking, what's the ideal background, I guess, for hiring? Do you go for somebody with marketing experience, and you want more somebody with data and metrics as the background, or is it sales? Prem, if I'm interpreting it wrong, let me know. But what is the ideal like skills of an account-based marketer?
That's a good question. I'm kind of torn here because I was a salesperson and then turned it into I turned into an ABM, but that was out of need, I suppose. I'd say for me, typically someone who's got a demand gen background, who has to be very metrics driven. They've got to be numbers. If you're hiring for this role, test them on like operational excellence, on their ability to understand and interpret data, and they have to be strategic. I wouldn't say you necessarily have to be from sales versus marketing. I'd say you've probably got more like the core fundamentals of marketing. That'd be my preference. But like, those are the 3 things I would be looking for.
I guess one man doesn't have to be the whole village, but you also need somebody who can maybe think a little bit creative or quirky to kind of like do that kind of thing that opens the door that looks unusual to the other go-to-market things that you're exposed to every day.
I think you need that person in the organization. I don't think that needs to be your account-based marketing manager, for example. But you need to have someone who's going to, like, diversity of thinking in a team is critical, right? Yeah. And so you look at your team and go, hey, like, to your point, have I got someone who's like pushes the boundaries a little bit more already? Okay, maybe I don't need that in this new person.
Cool. Okay, Sam is asking, when do you then introduce Reachdesk into this account-based?
So at what stage in the sales cadence? Are we talking about cadences specifically?
You decide.
When do you introduce Reachdesk? I actually had this conversation with one of our partners earlier. And you can look at this on our website. On our website, there's an interactive serials page, and it has what I call 15 magic moments that matter, right? And these are touch points that are critical for using direct mail and gifting, whether you use Reachdesk or not, where I think it could be very, very helpful for people to be able to fold this channel, the offline channel, into what you do. Look at those, that there are literally mini playbooks. You can click into it and go, I want to be using this for events. Let me give you some examples of how you might want to use it for events. Most people watching this will probably do events, whether it's trade shows or their own smaller events. Let's use trade shows as an example. You might spend $100,000 on a booth. So is everyone else in the room. All right. What have you done differently to give them an incentive to turn up to your booth? How are you going to ensure that when after the event they're going to remember you? What are you doing to like engage them within the event? Those might be 3 things you want to think about. One of our customers was like, okay, we know these 20 key people are going to go to this event. So they sent them a message saying, we've got a gift for you. Come to the booth. We want to give it to you in person. And they literally had like custom gifts that get sent from us that were at the booth. So their key prospects were there like, hey, you guys said you got a gift for me. Yeah, it is. Here it is. Yeah. No asks. Do you want to chat about what we do? Great. Yeah. Okay, nice. So really simple one. I don't know why people don't do that more. Snowflake's a customer of ours, and they have this wheel that they spin. You've seen them, right? But the difference here is they're trying to reduce the amount of swag that gets wasted. I go to lots and lots of conferences. I end up carrying a bag of swag around and go, I don't really want this. I can't really be asked to carry it back. And I only came hand luggage. So when you scan it, it asks you for your address. It sends you to your home. If you don't want it, you can donate it to charity, or you can choose a different gift. Right? It's a really easy one. It's engaging, but really importantly, that is actually connected to Chili Piper, which goes into our CRM, allows them to book meetings if we want to. So it's like a demand gen method. And then my favorite one is after the event, the SDRs go, hey, I met these 7 key prospects at the event. I'm going to use gifting. Great to meet you at the event. What I get loads of emails saying, here's an automated email that makes you not feel very special, Alex. Do you want to book a meeting? No, thank you. I'm just going to delete you. Whereas when the SDR pings me, go, great to meet you at the event. You mentioned this, this, and this. By the way, here's something on me. Send it via Reachdesk, via your outreach sequence, whatever it is. And you're using gifting to like really enhance the experience. That's just one moment, by the way. That's just one. There are 15 other like key moments you could be thinking about.
Reminded me about all the somewhat lazy follow-up we've done to to events and webinars, etc. That you sent that 1 or 2 emails afterwards, but if there were some kind of genuinely nice gift coming along with it, I think people would pay a lot more attention.
Yeah, hands up if you don't like a gift.
Yeah,
no one's going to put their hand up.
I really like that. Come to our booth or let's meet at the conference, because like who's going to say no to a little bit of a chit chat if you get a gift going along with it? Okay, we're almost out of time, so I'll do one more question before you tell people where they can find out more about you. That is this question from Adam. He's asking ABM functions if you're in a decentralized organization. I don't know if it's even possible to orchestrate things then, or what's your perspective on this, Alex?
I know this man. I've known this man for a very long time. Adam, hello. It's nice to see you. How do you think ABM functions differently within a decentralized org? So we talk about decentralized marketing, do you think?
Yeah, I would imagine that you have like an office in Europe, one in America, stuff like that.
If anything, it probably gives you a bit more control because you're not having to listen to the powers that be in one office. You've probably got a bit more autonomy. That's the main thing. Yeah. I don't think it differs tremendously. You might, in a decentralized organization, maybe be expected to focus more on like field marketing. Like if the US company goes to the UK, they usually send like field marketers. You do more event stuff, and so they may not have the right qualifications. It totally depends on the type of go-to-market motion that you're employing.
Cool. Let's end there, Alex. There's been you've been talking so much, and I know you need a little break before the day comes.
Good man.
But this has been, at least for me, very educational. So thank you so much for teaching me a little bit. If people watching want to know more about you or try Reachdesk, I can sort of sense the answer here, but what would you recommend people to do?
Go to reachdesk.com. We're going to be putting out more and more content this year. But if you want to follow me, I talk about this stuff all the time on LinkedIn. You'll be seeing my face a lot more this year. I'm going to be trying a lot more video, which you guys have been nailing, so I might pick the brain on that. I'm planning on just speaking my mind on what I've learned so I can share. That's all. So LinkedIn is probably best.
Super good. Thank you so much, Alex. I'll end this now, and thank you so much for joining and listening to us, all of you. Bye.
Bye.
We hope you like listening to us. Subscribe to our podcast and the ones that we have been guests on.
And if you have any feedback for us, just do let us know. And should there be a guest that you think we should be talking to, then pitch us.
We're looking forward to seeing you.